steal the land. Somebody always can. OMG, it's that Monday night delight. What's up, Flobo After Hour? It is late night here on the West Coast, even later in the East Coast, so thank you so much for being a part of this show. We're here live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube and Twitch, and if you're on that Twitch, hit me with a follow because I need a following. Now, this show is part of the New Amsterdam Network. You can learn more about that at newamsterdam.com, but this show specifically is powered by the members of the Boisterous Crew. Those are people on Patreon, those who come out there and support monthly, and you can be a part of the Boisterous Crew too. So I got to give a big shout out to Christopher C, Christy H, ACH, Edric P, Oliver E, Princess Leia, Matthew C, Lindsay U, and Richard R. You guys make this show a reality. But as always, I am not alone on this 36th edition of What's Up Flobo After Hours. My guest is someone I look up to. Why? Let me count the ways. She is a host. She is a fashion maven. She is so good at what she does. I still take notes, and you may see her as being part of the After 83 Weeks podcast. Give it up for Chris Reports, Christy Olson.
Yay! Thank you, Flobo. I never get introduced. I'm always the introducer, so that was really special for me.
I hope I did you proud. I was kind of nervous about that. I mean,
very A+.
Hey, I just want to say, Christy Olson is here answering questions all hours. So if you have a question for her, please let her know in the chat. I'll totally be highlighting. And she has her drinky drink. I am an old man, so I'm rocking caffeine. I have a good old breakfast blend. The store brand right now. It's my late night my kind of blend. But that's about me, what I'm drinking. Christy, how has life been treating you? How is life going for you?
Well, pretty good. Nothing spectacular to report, but at the same time, nothing disastrous to report either, which I think is pretty much the most we can hope for so far in 2021. Right. And I know there are a lot of people who are really affected by different things right now. So I'm happy to just be, happy, healthy, and hanging out here in Hollywood, trying to figure out what our new life looks like here. Right.
Right. 2020 was a mixed bag for a lot of people. How was your bag mixed? Wait, what? You hear what I'm saying? What was your good? What was your challenging? What was your combination?
I have to say that I didn't come to hate staying indoors quite a bit. I live right in the middle of Hollywood, so everything shut down all around us. And even, the friend group gets very small. You kind of pick your pod, and those are your people for the year. So I did have the opportunity to spend a lot of time with just a few really close friends, which is great for friendships to grow and that sort of thing. And, I think I found a little resolve in myself, too. Spending so much time home alone. I was without a car for part of it as well. So doing the whole carrying the groceries back and forth and the whole thing, I kind of just got through it and was proud of that.
Town Mountain, I made it. So was it a far trek to the store with the groceries and stuff? Or was it kind of like a task? Like, oh man.
It's not too bad. It's up a slight hill, but I am lucky enough. My grocery store is the Rock and Roll Ralph's, which sounds pretty cool, right? Because it is. People who don't live in LA don't know that we have this 24-hour Ralph's right by us that back in the 60s was the only place that was open for 24 hours. All the rock and rollers would hang out there. So that's why it is called Rock and Roll Ralph's. It's just a couple blocks away, and they've got everything I need there. So, if I'm really hoofing it, I'm going to Target.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But in the 60s, it wasn't a Ralph's back then, was it? It was like a bar or something? Or
no, it was a Ralph's back then. But it was the only place that was open 24 hours. So when the bars would close, where would everybody go hang out at? Rock and Roll Ralph's.
The grocery store. The more you know about this town. It's funny because I've been here since 2007. I'm still learning about the city. It's just a weird mix.
Oh, well, we have almost a similar anniversary then. I came right at the top of 2008, so
okay, yeah,
not to age myself.
My California anniversary is 14 years. I'm so getting up there. But you only get over 25, so it always works out.
Hey.
Exactly. Youth. Yeah. But you're originally from the Midwest, correct?
Yeah, I grew up in New Ulm, Minnesota, which is like a tiny rural town.
Yeah, and is it true what they say about like having to shed the Midwestern stereotypes when you come out to LA? Do people try to like to say, "Hey, hey, don't you know?" Ha ha! Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think I didn't come with too strong of an accent.
Yeah,
And also, I waited tables for many years towards the beginning of my LA experience. And that'll really beat the bad habits out of you. Anything that
yeah,
makes people say something to you that annoys you, like,
right.
oh, yeah, you betcha, any of that stuff, I just try to hide my accent or got rid of it probably pretty much as quickly as I could. But now I like
Yeah.
to do it. Now it's fun for me.
Well, you control the
I'm doing the
narrative.
imitation, right?
Right. And like growing up was pretty much like a suburban lifestyle. Is that rural? Like, what kind of town was your hometown?
Yeah, very small. Everybody really the same, in kind of every way they could be. People really a lot of the same, but a lot of love and a lot of hard work, blue collar. It's a
Yeah.
farming community, so I really instilled a lot of values in me that I don't think LA could pull out of me anyway. Which Lord knows it tried.
Yeah, yeah, I remember, and this has something to do with farming, but it kind of does. I was a PA on a reality show that I didn't get picked up, so I could talk about it. And it was being filmed in Agua Dulce, which is kind of like it's like 15 miles from LA or east of Six Flags, but it might as well just be like Texas, right? It's like rural. There's like horses just unbridled, just hanging out, and they wanted to get chickens to be on set, like dead chickens, right? They want to be like the scene was someone's supposed to go hunt, cut to an actual chicken that had passed. But the thing was,
The
as
magic of
the
television.
magic of television. I'm going hunting and cut. But the thing is, there had to be someone to go into LA's Chinatown to get these chickens, and none of the PAs wanted to touch it. And I was like, well, my cousins are Caribbean. They raise chickens. It was no sort of my bag. So I had like a whole like trunk full of like these birds, Like, but what I'm saying is like when the upbringing you have, it's like they instill like certain things. Like, oh, I'll do it. Whatever you want, I got you. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of this vibe.
Oh, absolutely. I know that I tend to come off maybe a little high
Yeah.
maintenancey, a little
No.
hair in place and that kind of a thing. But like, I can camp with the best of them. You know what I mean? I'm a
Yeah.
farmer's wife. I ride in the tractor. I do all the things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't choose to do those things, which is why I live in LA now. But
Sure.
I can still bump with the country bumpkins.
Yo, I'm not knocking that, man. Because I think the stereotype
I
we
think
have.
I was a little.
Oh no! Well, I would love to see you drive a tractor. Like I've tried, and it was pretty embarrassing. So I need someone to show me how it's done. That's kind of the thing.
Luckily enough, I am married to the pro, so I've had a lesson or two.
Oh, so your husband is also in agriculture?
Yes, yeah, he's a farmer, so he goes back to Minnesota in the spring and in the fall. And I say that's what had me here in LA all by myself for part of COVID.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we all survived that. So let's take it back. You were young, and the first thing you said, like the childhood dream, was to not host your own network, but
No, the childhood dream was the teenage dream was to be the next Maria Menounos or Juliana Rancic. I wanted to host E! News. This is back when I started watching it. It was live. It was just Juliana. No one had ever heard of Ryan Seacrest. And I thought that right there, that's what I want to do. I was studying hard news at the time, in college and stuff. And I knew that wasn't going to be my thing,
yeah,
like real news.
yeah.
So yeah, entertainment news was kind of always where I intended to be. And my last semester in college, I got an internship at E! Actually. So that's what brought me out here to LA. And I was, of course, shocked when they didn't immediately hire me to host E! News.
To who I am,
Right?
yeah,
Like, you know what I came here for? Come on.
right, yeah.
But I got a lot of really cool experience and learned a lot there about actual production and worked under a really cool, female boss who was willing to let me sit in on meetings and really learn a lot. So it was a cool experience, but never made it on cam there as a host. Did some fun background stuff at Red Carpets, but that was about it.
So you're saying even as a kid you wanted to be a host?
Yeah. Growing up, one of the first shows that I loved was Mary Tyler Moore. And so seeing
Okay.
her work in the newsroom, that's where I got that from. And then I don't know if you guys remember, I Want to Be a VJ on MTV. This was a contest. Yeah, Jesse Camp, who went a little crazy a few years ago. We could put a pin in that. But yeah, if you guys remember that whole thing, I saw that and was like, oh, okay, that's where it's the news plus the pop culture. That's what we're going to do.
That blows my mind, not because I don't believe it necessarily, but like so many people have fell into it. I wonder I was going to be a lawyer and then decided I got bit by the bug. But you're like, day one, this is one. I wanted to be a Power Ranger when I was a kid. That's why it blows my mind.
I have to say the pink one was on my list too. But I satiated that by dressing up as her for Halloween many years, and including one fairly recently.
Yeah. Oh wait, do you still celebrate Halloween?
Oh yeah.
Go on.
What was I supposed to stop?
No, I feel like people, at least here, and I live in West LA, in Culver City-ish. I think that no one celebrates it. It's kind of like a thing. We get the candy, we eat it. I don't see kids walking around. I feel like I'm some kind of like alternate universe where there was like hay rides and pumpkin carvings and all that.
Well, West Hollywood is really where it's at.
Right.
And I spent many years of my Hollywood Halloweens working. So, you still get to wear a costume, but you're bartending, you're doing the whole thing. So I haven't really gotten to do the huge West Hollywood Halloween thing. Of course, last year it was canceled, but that is at the top of my list for when things get flowing again. It's like, let's not just think, oh, we'll go next year. Like, let's actually go.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing I learned this year. It's like, stop putting things off, right? It takes one pandemic to be like, life is short. Or I guess more accurately, days are long, but years are short.
Well, yeah, because also at the same time, we kind of like got the gift of time.
Yeah. Did you pick up any side hustles or any kind of like, activities or
anything new? Yeah. Not really. I just really started appreciating having ample time to do the things that I was doing. Like, I have no schedule anymore. I don't look at the clock all day long. It just took me so long to get ready for this, Flobo. I was like, if I ever have to like be ready at a certain time to be able to get in my car and be somewhere at a certain time ever again, like I'm screwed.
Right. It's a flat circle, man. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I feel like I get up at, in theory, 6:45, but I'm like emailing people in bed to like 8, and then I blink and it's like lunchtime. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? It's just all over the place.
Oh yeah, it's like the leisurely workout in the morning. I shower, I lunch.
Do you do the home gym or do you go to a place?
I do a lot of, I'm lucky enough to live really close to Runyon Canyon. So I do a lot of hiking there. And then I do have a few things that I've kind of accumulated here at home because we haven't been able to go to the gym. And now that I haven't been, I never loved it anyway. Like just like the germ and the people factor. I like to be alone and like, I don't want to talk to anybody at the gym. I don't want to work out with you, all that kind of a thing. So now that I'm used to it, I swear I will never go to a gym ever again. But I also luckily found a treadmill under the stairs in my building.
What?
And yeah, it doesn't work, but if you like stand on it and you can like push, so it's a really good workout. So I brought it up to my apartment and now I have a treadmill.
Wait, so are you Fred Flintstoning this treadmill in your house right now?
Yeah.
That is awesome. That is.
Yep. I throw my waist trainer on. I do the thing.
Do you
turn the heat up to 86 degrees? That's the key.
Hot box the entire room. Yeah. Do you record your workouts or anything like that to work on form or anything? I know I see a lot of trends.
No, sometimes I glance in the mirror, but that's even more than I need to see. So.
Fair enough. No, I'm in the same boat as you are. Because like a lot of my friends who do work out, I see them on Instagram. I'm like, you brave. You're so
right.
You're just me doing this, like, what's going on?
Yeah, but it's like the outfit and like the hair and the whole thing. I'm not one of those workout people. I can't. I'm not there to look cute. I'm there to get it done so that I can then take a shower and then get cute.
It's funny you mentioned that because one of the reasons why I don't record myself working out is when I was in college, I saw a friend that a male friend. This is what they call the metrosexual era, right?
Oh, yes.
He was
Speaking
using
of Ryan Seacrest.
King metrosexual Ryan Seacrest. He was using concealer. He was like, oh man, with all these studies and finals, you want to make sure your eyes don't have bags in the room. And so, of course, I'm like, that's crazy. But I went to Target, I bought my own concealer, and I was doing my eyes. And then that Florida weather hit. And it was like it was all in my eyes, like it was stinging everywhere. I was like, why would they do this? And I was like, the price to be beautiful. This sucks.
See, your friend did you dirty there. He didn't tell you about primer.
No idea.
There are steps to it, Flobo. You can't just slap that stuff on, expect it to stay.
I used to know this. I used to help my mom set up Mary Kay parties back in the day, but somehow, my own vanity.
I love a Mary Kay party. My mom and I used that all growing up. I had my first Mary Kay party. I remember when I was like a teenager. Does she still sell it?
No, not anymore, man. Those dreams of getting that Grand Am was just more and more off the distance. It's not making Grand Ams.
No. It's a pink Cadillac.
Well, you work your way up. In the 90s, it was Grand Am, Grand Prix, pink Cadillac. But there's no more Pontiacs. So I don't know what you get now. But yeah, my mom would like hustle, and she got to go to Dallas, Texas every July to sit in a room and have a conference. And I was like, that was her side hustle before we understood what side hustles like really were. Like, because it's not really your company. You're like working on behalf of Mary Kay. But yeah,
but you still gotta have that like entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, and it was like with a twinge of Christianity too. So like there was like services. It was like after churches, mom was there hustling, like peace be with you, peace be with you, peace be with you. It was
peace be with you and some lip gloss.
Yeah, actually that's pretty solid. Bring that back.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, I'm getting off topic. But I have a question from Haywood Wong. Probably jumping ahead to your professional career. Asks, do you miss the Florida weather? I mean, you used to live in Florida with that brand. Can we talk about it? WWE, NXT.
Yeah.
I mean, how was that vibe?
Yeah, absolutely. I was there for a year with NXT, and absolutely not. I wish there was a word more than no to answer the question. I don't miss the Florida weather, but to be fair to Florida, even growing up in Minnesota, like I wouldn't go back and live there either. I have become accustomed to sunny and 70 year round, and it's very hard to break from that. The thing about Florida that people don't get, yes, it's hot and it's humid. It also rains out of nowhere, like at exactly 4 p.m. for like many months out of the year. So yeah, no, but thank you for asking.
Fair enough. Yeah, I lived in Florida for about 4 years in my early 20s, and I can tell you, I had a sweat rag. I would carry around a towel just to that humid sweat. It was gross. Charlene asks, how long was Christy at AfterBuzz? I guess that's you.
Charlene, hello, nice to see you. I think if Charlene is the Charlene I think she is, and she was watching us on AfterBuzz way back in the day, which we appreciate. This is such a good question, and you think I would know this, wouldn't you? I thought about it recently, and I figured it must have been about 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe even a little more, 6-7 years ago that I started there. So many years and many opportunities over there at AfterBuzz. Wow.
So before the studio?
Yes. Yeah. I started with AfterBuzz when they were just when the studio had been built in a house that was kind of in like a residential neighborhood. It was so cool to kind of roll up there and go inside the house where they had studios set up in different areas. And it was just it was a really cool energy there. Obviously, it was different than walking into such a professional, like state-of-the-art studio like they have now. A little different, but really, really cool.
I graduated. When you sign for AfterBuzz, you take a host class, and my instructor, Phil Svitek, like actually gave us a commencement speech and all that stuff. It's funny. Oh. I graduated in November of 18, and I always say this story, so bear with me if you heard it before, fans and Christy. So I wanted to get myself out there as a comic, but I was like, I'll do any show. I did The Flash, did all the nerd shows, but I really love wrestling. At the time, I had no idea how to get into the wrestling shows at AfterBuzz. There were just units. It was a glass door. You just banging on it. And I got an email from Christy, and she was like, hey man, I got the show. It's called Something to Wrestle With After. Are you down? And I go, heck yeah. Sunday at 4 o'clock? Whatever. And I drove across town for it. And the show lasted like, 6 weeks, if that. But like it enamored everyone to say, hey, look, this guy does the wrestling things. I always give you credit for giving me the first shot.
Well, I so appreciate that. And I love to hear that because you came on with such a bang, so much enthusiasm, such like just fresh energy. And, when you do something for quite a while, especially with the same people who I love so much, I have such close friends that I hosted with at AfterBuzz. It's really cool to have someone come in and kind of remind you what a great opportunity it is, and how unique it is to be able to connect with people in that kind of a way. And you kind of renewed my energy.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
We should have collabed more often. That's what I think the longest discussion we ever had after that show, bringing back the chickens thing, because you are a staunch vegan and you are a fan of vegan junk food, and you're able to tell me how to find the dopest vegan junk food in town. We never finished that conversation. How are we going to do it?
Oh, wow. Have you got the time, Flobo?
I got all the time in the world.
Well, so I've been vegan now, that's about 9 years, maybe a little more. And so I'm from the era of like the quiet vegans. You didn't talk about it because you didn't want to start a fight. You didn't want to start an argument. People didn't understand it. And pretty much all there was to eat was French fries and salad.
Wait, hold on. Let me cut you off there. Are you saying that us carnivore Americans were just being so like forceful with our beliefs that we're dogmatic about it?
Just a little. Just a little bit.
It's a smidge.
It's okay because I get it. Vegans have developed a reputation for being a little preachy, a little self-righteous. So I get it. I'm just not the kind of person who's really trying to like flip anybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if you're really interested in it and you want to know how to do it, I'm happy to give you tips. But like, I'm not trying to force my beliefs on anybody just as much as I don't want you to ask me if I want a bite of your steak. You know what I mean? So I'm from the era when we didn't talk about it much and there wasn't much to eat. And now it seems like every week there is some new awesome substitute for something that I used to love and haven't been able to eat in almost a decade, or, just some new concoction that like I have to try that is amazing. And so you find it, I'm sure it's so much easier now than it used to be.
And you're completely off the board. Like, there's no compromises. Because sometimes you say, I'm a vegan, but I'll like butter. I'm a vegan or I like cheese. You're like, no, you're completely plant-based. And so what is the go-to junk food? Snack or meal? Like, what is it? Tell me everything.
Well, there's about 5 or 6 different kinds of chocolate chip cookies at this point that you can even get like at your local grocery store. So I kind of just take my pick, like what mood I'm in, on Friday and Saturday, which kind of chocolate chip cookies I like. Yeah. Ice cream is another one. They make ice cream now with cashew milk and almond milk. And I have this cashew caramel with like chocolate, and it's delightful. Flobo. And I guarantee you, I know people say like it's crazy or it's difficult. If you tried this ice cream, you would never miss your, chunky monkey fudge, whatever. And I believe there is a version of the Ben & Jerry's chunky monkey or whatever it is that's vegan now too. So I like to make a breakfast burrito. That doesn't sound like junk food, but when you put as much vegan cheese and sausage in it as I do, that's some junk food. What else? Pizza is one of my fave things. And luckily here in LA, there are plenty of places that just deliver carnivore pizza and vegan pizza. So like everybody's happy.
Yeah. So everyone wins. So I didn't know you had a sweet tooth. Well, except for the breakfast burrito. But I didn't know you had a sweet tooth.
Oh yes. That's how I was raised.
Is there a hierarchy? I'm just curious now because I am reading about it now. Is there a hierarchy in your personal preference of the different kinds of milks? Like, are you a nut milk or oat milk kind of thing? Fan?
I like to try everything, and I think that's what people should do. Try everything, pick out what you like the best. Some people are eating it on their cereal. I'm putting it in a shake. I like chocolate milk. I know that's not any better for me than anything else, but chocolate almond milk is where it's at. So I'm kind of a whatever. Even with the burgers, Impossible versus Beyond and all that, I'm just so happy that there's something I can eat now. Yeah. And that it's easy and that I can get it at the grocery store. That I'm like, whatever, Impossible, Beyond, Over the Cliff, whatever the hell kind of fake meat it is, I'll try it.
Are you a fan of the Possible Beyond or your classic like bean and rice? Like I'm a burger person. That's my favorite food of all time. So I'm just curious. Like, do you have a preference? I
like the fake stuff. It can be very, very close to beef. It can be beet red, so it bleeds like beef. I'm into it. That doesn't freak me out. I like the Impossible.
That does freak me out. Like I like veggie patties if they're beans. Or, actually, rice better. I like the rice patties I get, but like the fact that it's plant based and it bleeds, it's like wait a minute, like how does that work? Because my dad used to grow the crops in the backyard, and you cut them to be like clear or white. Where does the red come from?
Well, and you know the vegans don't necessarily really most of them want it or need it to bleed, but that is so that it looks more like the real thing for people who aren't eating it all the time. And those are the ones really that we want to entice to try an Impossible Burger, maybe even once a week on Meatless Monday, or, you know, when there's one at the barbecue and, you know, everybody's eating the beef burgers. Why don't you try the Impossible, you know? Be the hero, leave more for everybody else.
I will say that it is, I won't say easier, but it definitely is a lot more accessible to take days like that. And like, you know what, I'm going to eat meat all weekend. And I've done that. I've gone as far as a day and a half. And then I'm like, cool, you know.
Well, that's cool because then you get to try some different things, right? You find some stuff that you like to eat that you maybe wouldn't have given a chance to otherwise, you know.
It's absolutely true. Like those rice patties. Charlene asks, is your husband vegan as well?
He is not. People ask that very often, and we eat completely differently, actually, most of the time. He did try to go vegan for a while, kind of towards the beginning when I did, and it wasn't for him. He lost a lot of weight. He got very thin and didn't have a lot of energy. And that does happen to people who don't eat the right nutritious things, just like if you were on any diet and you didn't make sure that you were covering your nutrition. So he is not, and he probably never will even try it again, even though he did it wrong.
Shade.
Right? Yeah, totally met the shade. But he's a great cook. And so we'll do a thing where like he'll make 2 different pans of lasagna, a carnivore lasagna and a vegan lasagna. You know, we'll have taco meat, and we'll do mine with the beefless beef and his with turkey or whatever the hell he wants, you know, and make tacos and taco salad and that kind of a thing. So we eat differently, but it works for us.
Yeah. Forgive me if this is being very kind of personal, but does that mean you have to have separate utensils then to make sure it doesn't cross-contaminate?
No, he's pretty careful about like, 1 spoon into this one and 1 spoon into that one. But I also try not to get too crazy, especially because I am from the era where no one was bending over backwards for you and there weren't options anywhere. You just kind of had to deal with it. And I worked at restaurants for years. You know, I worked at Saddle Ranch Chop House when I first went vegan. So, you know, I'm touching the ribs all the time, the rib bones, and seeing the steaks come out and, you know, talking about how juicy they are. So I kind of can't really get too paranoid about that kind of stuff.
No, I hear you. It's kind of things like, even though I do, I don't know, say omnivore kind of a thing. I understand how it is to be ostracized because of what you can't eat. In my neighborhood and a lot of people in Brooklyn, like a good night out was Red Lobster, and I have a shellfish allergy. A little different, but when you can't eat something, everyone's like, "So does it be you?" Or try one, get Benadryl. You're like, no, like what are you doing? So like I can't say I'm in the same boat, but like I can understand being looked at differently because of what you put in your body. Like it offends them of what you decided to choose in your body. So I guess everyone's doing their recipes in the chat now. Eggplant, lasagna, vegan pizza. It's going nuts in the chat.
That sounds good.
Shout out.
Pizza can't be done wrong. Like whether you put some kind of plant-based meat on it or plant-based cheese or not at all, it's like you cannot go wrong. Start there.
Start there. Well, speaking of things that you're starting on or even growing, let's talk about After 83 Weeks, your weekly hangout sesh with Eric Bischoff. So glad to be on a guest on a couple weeks ago. It's blowing up. People are hitting you up. I mean, it's a nice show. You got to move it over during the pandemic. Walk me through this. How does that happen?
Yeah, well, you mentioned something to wrestle with after, which was kind of how this all started a couple years ago. Kevin Undergaro, the co-creator with Maria Menounos of AfterBuzz TV, he was telling me a story. Actually, this is a great learning lesson. He was frustrated with some hosts that he had given this idea to, and they didn't like the idea, so they just weren't going to do it. They were going to do what they wanted to do, which was the same as something that everybody did all the time. And I heard that and I thought, gosh, why wouldn't you take Kevin Undergaro's advice, right? So I kind of thought about his idea, which was essentially for a podcast about a podcast. So taking a popular podcast and making an after show for that, which a couple of years ago, you know, was pretty revolutionary, right?
Yeah.
So we started with Bruce Pritchard's podcast and covering that, and just decided that there might be more material. There might be a little more to talk about, and we may have the opportunity to get Eric Bischoff on our show if we covered his podcast 83 Weeks instead. So we kind of made the jump because our good friend Steve Kaufman, fellow AfterBuzzer, does some work with Eric Bischoff and his YouTube channel. So Steve was able to eventually finagle us to get Eric on. And when AfterBuzz unfortunately had to close its doors because of COVID, Eric said, yeah, let's keep doing this on my channel. So now we're on Eric's 83 Weeks channel every week. And we have built up quite a great group of live chatters that come in and hang out with us. And they get to ask Eric questions. And he's great because nothing is off limits to him. You know, like he comes ready to play and like do his impressions and play my silly games and like answer all of our nosy questions. And it's a lot of fun.
I bet it is. I mean, it's funny to me because Eric, well, Conrad is another beast altogether. He has like 20 billion shows. But Eric will sit in these shows that run maybe an hour or two, sometimes even 3 or 4 hours for a show. You would think he has exhausted everything that there is to possibly say about a subject, but he comes in like, what do we got? Another hour. And then sometimes the question goes off the rails, but it's always cool that he's down to work with a community that just wants to interact with Eric. I know, I can only imagine, I don't know, but I can imagine there's some questions he's probably heard 1 billion times, but you can never tell because he's kind of like, well, you know, I felt this, I felt this, I felt that. And it's so cool that you guys get to be a part of it weekly.
Well, it really is. And he seems to acknowledge that people just really want, you know, a little of his time and to pick his brain a little bit. And he's cool with that. You know what I mean? It definitely works because he's into it.
Is there any like behind the scenes after 83 week stories you got? Like any kind of things that happen off air to make go, oh, Eric?
No, because I mean, he'll just lay it all out on the line right on the air. You know, for example, last week on his podcast, he mentioned something about, oh, you know, my balcony's so big, I could, and there's no one around for miles, I could stand out on my balcony naked and smoke a cigar. And then just kept talking. I'm like, well, you can't just leave us hanging there. Have you ever done this? Tell us about it. So then we get to follow up and ask him on after 83 weeks about smoking a cigar naked on his balcony. You know, so anything that's comical has really gone down on the air. Like maybe a year and a half or so ago, Tony Khan made some pretty audacious comments about the comparisons between AEW and WCW and that he was trying to do things differently. You know, so that their fate would end up differently. And Eric had not read these comments. I was happy to read them to Eric live on the air. He had a very big response. And kind of for a while, it seemed like there were things, you know, kind of going back and forth there. So that's the fun part. It's all gone down right on the air.
That is it. And you get to be like stoking the flames, I guess. You get to be like, you know what I heard? I'm just saying, I'm just reading what's on the card.
It's my favorite thing to do, Flobo, you know? And when someone's not up for it, obviously we're not going to torture them. When they're up for it, like Eric is, that just makes it even more fun.
Oh, absolutely. And so this is like one of the parts of the Christy Olson empire. Let's talk about the digital presence. You know, currently 2 channels on YouTube, in the process of a change. Might be a new season, a new day for Christy Olson. What's the vision? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? What part of the world has yet been conquered by Christy Olson?
Well, that's such a great question right now because things have changed so much. And I kind of feel like I'm at a crossroads where I have achieved a lot of the things I wanted to do. You know, a lot of the big dreams I had, I've been able to realize and see come true. And I am trying to figure out what is the next thing. I've had my YouTube channel since 2009.
Respect.
Yeah. And have, you know, gained subscribers and then lost subscribers and tried to get them back again and got monetized and then lost my monetization and had to get that back again. And it's been really, you know, it's been a thing.
Absolutely.
A back and forth and an up and down. And I'm really getting to a good place with it now where I feel less worried about what people are going to think about what I'm putting out. You know what I mean? And that's just a free place to be. So the big dream for me would be to develop a series that people really come to my channel for, you know, more than just interviews or more than just the latest reality TV or pro wrestling news, something that when people hear the name of it, they go, oh, that's Christy Olson show, and we tune into that to YouTube for that every single week. So I have some ideas. Stay tuned. But that all came along with the blog and doing red carpet interviews and all of that on my blog, ChristyReports.com. That started in 2012, and I was so cool to do that for a few years, red carpet interviews, but that stuff just doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know, Flobo, if you got some ideas, let me know.
I mean, I got ideas all day. We can talk after this. But what made you persevere? We all have ups and downs, and I know as a content creator those days, I have a dope show, and the ratings are just the same as the week before where the show wasn't as good. What made you keep going?
What's made me keep going is that it's mine. I can do what I want with it, when I want with it. It's my content. It's my words. It's my research. I see things that other people put out, and I think I could do that in a different way, or in a way that, I feel is better or is different, or people may like more. And then I have the freedom to go and do that. I wasn't able to post to my channel or to do anything with it when I was under contract for a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And that just killed me. It really did. And it made me realize how much it means to me to have something that is just my outlet. It's just my voice. I started it because I couldn't get on TV. You needed a reel, but to get a reel, you needed work. So I started the channel to make videos, to make something, to have a reel, and now I still have that as something to represent myself. It's me. Other people can get big jobs, and I've had big TV jobs and been very proud of that, and that of course would be what I would want, but I always have my channel to go and speak my piece on.
One of the axioms I live by is from the rapper Eric Sermon, who said, it may not be nothing, but I wrote this here. And it means a lot when you create something from basically yourself. And Haywood Wong has an idea for your next show. He says, how about Christy cooks, the latest and tasty vegan dishes?
What a great idea that would be if I had any semblance of patience to be able to cook. Maybe that's the comedy. It's a 10-second show of me trying for 5 seconds and then getting frustrated and walking off screen.
You come on.
If it doesn't go in the microwave or my husband doesn't cook it, I'm not eating it. So that would be fun though.
Put it in the maybe pile. Let's say we get a production team. Yeah, we'll have a green screen and we'll have a team. We'll do it. But between your different shows and your plans of building up your empire, you got to have some downtime. You mentioned working out. You mentioned running in Canyon. What else do you do for fun? Does Christy have fun? Does she hang out?
Christy has a lot of fun, Flobo. Christy has sometimes a little bit too much fun.
Go on.
I love to spend time with my friends. Most Saturdays we do cookouts here or there. So a lot of that. The working out, I'm a huge TV buff, and I'm lucky enough to have a job where I can convince myself that I need to watch TV.
Write it off on taxes.
It's my job to watch TV, Flobo.
Yeah, Mama June did this week. I swear.
Exactly. So I watch a lot of TV, and what else? I swear I probably had hobbies before when stuff was open.
Yeah, I believe it.
I do too, but I don't remember.
I used to ride motorcycles, and then I don't. It's well, there you go. But when you watch TV, do you have it's like a division where it's this is for my job, this is what I'm working on, or this is for fun, or is it kind of everything's a sponge, and then you decide that'd be a good show, this is for me only? What's the approach?
Yeah, well, that's another of my favorite things about having my channel is that I watch TV with the mindset of I can ask this person I'm watching right now why they just did that. What really happened? What was going on behind the scenes? I'm talking about reality TV specifically, but even actors and actresses. The one year when I didn't have my channel and I was outside of LA and doing something else, I would sit on my couch and watch Vanderpump Rules and just cry because just knowing that I was going to have to sit and watch this episode and I wouldn't be able to go to a red carpet event tomorrow and ask, the stars, what did you really think that your girlfriend wasn't going to see this footage of you cheating on her? What was the mindset there? Yeah. So I'm always watching it with the mind of what can I add to this?
Right. That's a good way of look at your craft. Like, well, how can I give my twist to whatever that may be? So if you guys listen to this thinking about starting your own show, Chrissy dropped some science right there, y'all. Make it your own.
Yeah, and if it's got to be about what you love.
Yeah. So what does the travel side of things look like? I know we're opening up, people are getting vaccinated. Do you have a travel bucket list? Are there things you want to do for work, for play? Where do you want to see the world?
I miss traveling. That's the aspect of working in the pro wrestling world that I miss the most. When I first started my career with pro wrestling, I was going usually twice a month to Las Vegas, to Portland. I was working here in LA as well, and flying all over working wrestling shows. So it's something that I miss quite a bit, but for me, it didn't really end because of COVID. It ended because of, taking different direction in my career. So
Sure.
Just getting back to doing it at all would be great. I have a really good friend who moved to New York in the midst of all this. So that is at the top of my list to go and visit him. As many times as I've been to Las Vegas for work, I've never done Vegas woohoo.
Really?
So I would which,
You don't want to know how many times I've been to Vegas, Christy. You don't want to know.
But I do, Flobo.
Every time I go, I take photos, and I have an album for every time I went. I am at 43 times.
Wow. Well, so you can tell me all the hot spots.
I can. I've done every time: solo trip, guys trip, romance trip, single trip, any kind of trip you want. Cheap trip. I've done it.
That would probably be the one. I just have my heart set on doing the zip line thing over the city, which everyone says is really cheeseball and silly, but I'm doing it.
Oh yeah, well, cheeseball and silly, that means you have to do it, right?
Exactly.
Charlie has another question for you. She asks, 90 Day Fiancé, thoughts on this season?
Ooh, I do have some thoughts on this season, and we just had a brand new episode roll out last night. There are a few couples on this season that I believe really are legit. I think when we look back at this season, we're going to think of it as kind of a dud, but the one with the real couples that actually were in love and actually stayed together. Oh. I was a little concerned the past few seasons that they were getting too far away from that it became more about the storylines and about the big personalities. And this season, of course, we still have our Stephanies, who we saw her start with one guy and is now kind of moving on to his cousin. And another couple who were trying to get together despite COVID. And when his fiance got locked up in Mexico City, instead of maybe going home or trying to help her a whole lot, he just stayed on the vacation. I hate that guy. So hate that guy. I think Jovi and Yara have a lot more promise than they look like right now. And Yara's kind of getting a bad rep just because the Eastern European women on 90 Day Fiancé, people tend to assume that they're very cold or I think we forget sometimes that people are just different in different countries and they express themselves differently. And that's my favorite part about the show. Is seeing this cultures clash and seeing how people get together and love wins out,
You totally sold it. I've watched one season of a spinoff. It was, this is 2 years ago now. It's 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After.
That's the best one, Flobo.
I was I binged it, and mind you, it wasn't streaming then, so I paid for each episode. I paid $14 for the show, and I was like, "What? This is why it's called binging." I went down a dark place one afternoon. I was like, "Oh my gosh, these characters and we thought we were great, but then the commercial break is coming up, so cue the music." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And parents hate each other. It was nuts. It was nuts.
Well, was that the season with Ashley and Jay? And
that was the one with Jeffy.
On it.
Jeffy. That was Jeffy didn't like his wife, and they got pregnant, and the parents and Jeffy's mom was had a heavy Haitian accent, and so that family did not appreciate him as much. That had been 2 seasons ago.
Oh, I remember.
Because I did it for an after show for AfterBuzz, so it had been recent, but it wasn't super recent.
Yeah. Well, Happily Ever After is a good one. That's a good place to start.
Pastor Cal! All right, so.
Oh, yeah, Pastor Cal.
But, Christy, before we get out of here, do you want to play a game?
Gosh. Did I just talk so much, Flobo? It's so late.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. You don't want to sit here and be like, oh, man, I can't believe it. We're just... Well, I like having you here because the time goes up pretty quickly. Did you want to play a game?
I would love to play a game.
Yeah, this one here is a classic. The flagship show is called Risky Sevens. Here's the deal. This will be where I'll ask you 7 questions of increasing difficulty. If you get a question right, I will donate $5 on your behalf to a charity of your choosing, which you have earmarked as the World Central Kitchen. It's risky because if you get the question wrong, they get nothing. So $35 on the line if you do it right, and up to 0 if you don't.
All right, it's on. It's for the kid.
It's for the kids. The topic is television hosts, quite like yourself. How many can Christy get correct? And shout out to JLJ Media says, I love Christy. Who doesn't?
Hey!
All right. Well, this one, again, increasing difficulty. First one should be a gimme. Should be. Number 1. This host made national TV news this week by having a sit-down with the former Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Oprah.
Oprah, correct. Question 2.
And it was a great interview. Everybody should watch it.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't got through it yet, but I've seen the things. Look, you got a shout out from the crowd. What up, WWE Shield?
Okay.
$5 in the bank for the World Central Kitchen. Let's see if she can make it more. Question 2. This host became a household name once he was anointed the host of the TV show American Idol.
Oh, Ryan Seacrest.
Correct. Question.
That poor guy who was on season 1.
Brian Dunkelman. I actually booked him for a show once. Question 3. Before stepping down from the job earlier this year due to controversy, this host was seen by millions of Bachelor fans every week.
Chris Harrison.
Correct. Well, she's on a roll now.
Still watching that one play out.
Question 4. This host made waves when she became the first ever person of Indian descent to host an American Broadcast Network late night talk show.
Oh, Lily Singh.
Lily Singh, correct.
Yeah.
Question number 5. Before Trevor Noah and Jon Stewart, this comedian was known as the original host of The Daily Show.
I should know this. Who was the original?
You have $20 in the bank currently. You've done pretty well.
Oh.
Before Trevor Noah and Jon Stewart, this comedian was known as the original host of The Daily Show.
Oh, you know what? I'll never get it. Who is it, Flobo?
Craig Kilborn. Question 6. You get harder. Question 6. Known for and an advocate for his misophobia and OCD, this host never shook hands or with contestants on his game show, Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, Deal or No Deal, not Harvey, not Hank. What the hell is his name? It's the Bobby's World guy. Does it start with an H, right? Howie Mandel.
Howie Mandel, correct. And last question. You currently have $25 to pay. I love the talking out. $20 in the bank, $30 in the bank. Will it be 30 with this one? America's Funniest Home Videos has been on the air for 20 years before it was canceled. Can you name at least 2 of the hosts?
Bob Saget, Tom Bergeron, and for no extra points, the guy who played Carlton on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I will accept Carlton. Alfonso Ribeiro, thank you so much. You've raised $30 for World Central Kitchen, which I will donate on your behalf and tag you in the proof. That was fun. You just killed it.
That was fun. Thank you. I didn't even know that my knowledge on TV hosts was so expensive.
You are TV host bonafide. And Charlene had asked your thoughts about the interview. Have you seen the interview with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry?
I have. And it was like a clinic in how to push, but not too hard, which of course is when we're talking Oprah, you know, she's the one, she's the number one, she's the head honcho in that area. I came away from it so glad that I had watched it because I really had a different idea of who Harry and Meghan were together and really how things had gone for them the last few years, and realized after watching that we didn't have their side at all. Not at all. You know, so no matter what you think about it, it's like you really have to watch their interview to understand and even, you know, form an opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of thinking of it. I know the show sold for $7 million. CBS paid for it and sold for ads for $325,000 for 30 seconds. So it's going to be big news. And it was right. It was kind of like you kind of think it from the outside perspective because we don't really have royalty here in the United States besides Ryan Seacrest. These guys just want to leave their jobs. But no, there's really big reasons, what I'm seeing from broad strokes, of why they decided they had to leave. And I'm glad they're finding some light in the tunnel for sure.
Yeah. And you know what? I think if anyone is able to use their experience to make sure that others don't suffer the same experience, I think it'll be Meghan and Harry. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do for the world.
Yeah, the world indeed. Dudette says, felt so sorry for them, but jealous of the love they have for one another. That's great.
Yeah, they're going to stick it out. I'd put my money on them before any of the 90 Day Fiancé couples.
Yeah, because they're gonna have their own podcast. They have enough time to get the guest on to get their whole story out there, and hopefully it would. But true love does persevere, I guess. So I've heard. Rumors are swirling.
Yeah, right?
But I want to say, Christy, so glad you're on this episode of What's Up Flobo After Hours. $30 you raised for Rule Central Kitchen. So great. We'll be having a good time. I want you back on a future episode. Now, here's the fun part. You got to tell the whole world where they can find you online, see your stuff, buy your merch, get concert tickets, everything.
Well, I would love it if you guys would follow me at Christy Reports, most active on Twitter and Instagram. I love to hear from you. Let me know what you guys think about the current season of 90 Day Fiancé. If you have any news scoop for me, wrestling or reality TV, hit me up. And please subscribe to my channel, Christy Reports. I really appreciate every sub, every thumbs up, every comment. I love to hear from you guys. So this was so fun, Flobo. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for agreeing to do the show, because you could have been like, nah, but you did. It was great. So much fun. Follow Christy, doing big things. Such a kind-hearted person. Such a nice individual who understands like the human connection and compassion, which is very rare in parts of towns out here. So I appreciate it. At Flobo Boyce on Twitter, at Flopito on Instagram, flopito.com. And if you want to see me cast or commentate the great sport of Rocket League, follow me on Twitter at Novanta, Novantarl, where I get to talk about cars, soccer, and video games, because I'm just that kind of nerd. But until next week, After Hours are closed.
The baddest in the land. Someone who always can. Don't you know?